Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Marcellus Wiley with Emmanuel Acho.
Hold on, Marcellus.
Oh, we doing this right now?
First of all, America, it's Big Bro Marcellus Wiley's birthday, so happy birthday to you, my dog.
Oh,
happy
thank
birthday.
you, big dog.
I would sing, but the vocal cords are not loose.
Really? Oh, you don't have your piano right here. You don't have your Kawhi. You can't go out there and sing?
Look, I tried singing happy birthday before. It never works out well. But
my
happy
dog.
birthday to you, big dog.
I appreciate you.
Like I said, you don't look a day over 67.
Dog, I feel older than that. All right, now.
We got a huge day, huge shakeup in college football, and we got to get to it. So, first, am I bringing in Joel Klatt? Is Joel Klatt here? Is he ready?
He got a gift at least? Can you bring in somebody with a gift instead of you with all these compliments? I need a gift. Email me a gift certificate.
Bring in Joel Klatt so we can get to all this news. I need you to put a little pep in your step, though, Klatt. I need you to put right here, right.
And he got on tennis shoes, man. Hurry up.
My dog.
What's going on, fellas?
My dog, what's Marcellus' birthday?
Happy birthday.
I appreciate it.
Is it really?
Yes, it is. 47 years young.
Good for you.
Yes.
All right, enough of that. Can we talk college football?
Yes.
Brian Kelly, he's leaving Notre Dame after 12 seasons, and he's going to LSU. He's leaving his Fighting Irish team, 11-1 Fighting Irish team, mind you. And speaking of the Fighting Irish, they're still fighting for college football playoff hopes. But USA Today ripped Kelly for the timing of his departure. They wrote, quote, "There's nobody to blame but Kelly for a classless, gutless exit before the kids he recruited to Notre Dame even knew whether they'll have the privilege of playing for a national championship." Close quote. Classless. Gutless. God. Good to have you here, brother.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Yes.
Very good to be here.
So,
Me?
you have an issue with Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame right now.
Right now.
Yes, sir.
I know what you put the emphasis on. Right now. I have no issue with Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame to go to greener pastures, to go to LSU right now or at any time in his career. You know why? Because this was a promotion for him. This was an opportunity to really fight for the winner's circle versus just being happy to be at the bottom of the podium as Notre Dame was. Think about this. Brian Kelly has won more games at Notre Dame than any coach in Notre Dame's history. All that salsa and no chips. Nothing. You imagine?
I love chips and salsa.
They go together, right?
Yes.
Like they go together, and you look at them when they get into these bowl games, when they get into the college football playoffs, all of a sudden he realizes through self-scouting and also scouting the opponent, oh, we don't qualify. Look, we're here, but we know that we're going to be cemented at the bottom of the podium. They've been blown out in every one of their appearances. You know why? Because there's levels to this. Let's talk about those levels, because everyone walks around, they see us on television, glamorous, you living the life, Look at you, the watches.
I'm living you guys' life. You guys, I mean, look at you. You're all dressed up and everything.
And that's my point. I humbly say this. We're a part of the 1%, as they say in this world, right? But there's a difference between the 1%ers and the 0.1%ers. Let's talk about this, because I have never in my life put my credit card down and said, hey, where's that private jet? Let me get somewhere, right? But I do know people, alums, friends, celebs, who not only do they do that, but they actually own their own plane. Now, someone will look at me from the outside and say, Marcellus, you are winning. And I'm saying, dog, I am at the bottom of the podium compared to others. This guy just got a promotion to a situation that is full and ripe of devotion. Why did it rhyme? Because in Louisiana, more so than any other state, those kids are loyal to their state. Think about it. Florida's a breeding ground. But look at Florida State. Look at Miami. Look at the University of Florida, just fired my guy from Columbia, Dan Mullen. Look at those programs. The guys are not as loyal, or it's not manifesting the same. University of Texas, Texas schools, doing well, not exactly getting over the hump. California schools, we got the prospects, but they go elsewhere as well. But Louisiana, you think about this situation for Brian Kelly, he's realized this is a chance to finally fight Nick Saban, the only other coach who has more wins than him, who has the chips and the salsa.
I don't disagree with anything that you just said. Right, like everything that you just said is accurate. I just don't think it's the reason that he left. I think it has to do with 9. 9 figures.
Oh.
Folks, everybody in the world, and I said this to Colin, and we're all for sale.
Yeah.
Okay? You're for sale, I'm for sale, you're for sale, you're for sale at home. There's only 2 reasons why you don't take it. You're either not worth it or you have a contractual obligation to keep you in your current situation. The problem with college football, that whole article that blasts him as classless and blah, blah, blah. No.
Stop.
The structure of college football put him in this position. It put Lincoln Riley in this position. By saying that you want an early signing day period, you're going to have coaches that are fired earlier, and then those coaches that are going to get hired at those locations need to get hired in before this early signing day. Why? Because recruiting is the lifeblood of college football. So this is not a Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley problem, and all the fans at Notre Dame and Oklahoma are going to get so mad at that because they want to label him as classless and they want to label him as a snake. No. You're for sale too. You're either just not valuable and not getting the offer, or you're in confines that prevent you from taking that. In the NFL, there are tampering rules that go along with when you can talk to coaches and when you can't talk to coaches. And there are league years, and there is a calendar that is laid out that prevents stuff like this from happening. Okay? The problem with college football is the structure of college football. All right? Brian Kelly said a couple of weeks ago, and I believed him, and I've sat with him, and I've heard him talk about Notre Dame. He loved Notre Dame. He loved his players. But the bottom line is this. He said, listen, I'm at Notre Dame, and I'm going to be at Notre Dame unless there's some random fairy godmother that, is out there. Well, guess so happens that the fairy godmother wore purple and gold and laid out 9 figures. Nobody's saying no to that. And if you think you are saying no to that, you're lying to yourself. So everything that you said is right, okay? And I think that Notre Dame has a hill to climb for a 1%er program that is on the podium and everyone would love to be there. They still feel like they may have a ceiling, right? And Brian felt that when he played the Alabamas of the world or the LSUs or the Clemsons of the world, and he felt that ceiling. And maybe he said, you know what? I want to go box with both of my hands, not one hand tied behind my back in those situations. But I don't think that was the reason. I think that the reason was you dangle $100 million in front of any person on the planet, and they're going to go do that job that they've been very good at for the last decade plus of their life.
Glad, I don't have an issue with Brian Kelly leaving. I have an issue with the timing of when Brian Kelly left. And I understand that college football may have put him in this predicament, but he's in this predicament nonetheless. I can't give it a pass. Brian Kelly might be going to chase money, as we all at some point in time either are or will go to chase money. But I always remember that question, who are you becoming as a result of the chase?
Okay.
And when I think about this decision of Brian Kelly, who is he becoming as a result of the chase? And who did he become to the players he left behind? Maybe it's because I am most near to being a college athlete that it hits me harder. Maybe it's because I recall, Klatt, going into my senior year, I thought about going to the NFL early. Will Muschamp, my defensive coordinator, he encouraged so many of us to come back to Texas for our senior year. Went to the national championship game sophomore year. Junior year, we go 5-7. I'm sure you recall, you covered it. After junior year, I'm like, we already been to a championship. We already been to the lowest 5-7. It's time to get up out of here. Hey, no, come back. Let's right the ship. Let's right these wrongs. We can bring this university back. I say, okay, cool. I come back. Keenan Robinson, another linebacker, comes back. Keyston Randall, another defensive tackle, comes back. We're all like, okay, we'll come back.
Let's do it.
We're at the banquet. Final season. Linebacker sitting at the table. I'm sitting here. Keenan sitting there. Muschamp's supposed to be sitting there.
Where's he at?
Seat never gets filled. I checked the ticker. Will Muschamp accepts a job to become the next head coach at the University of Florida. I think that's where he departed to. I was like, bro, and maybe because I was 19 at the time, took me years to get over that. Or maybe because I felt like you gave me your word. And at least to me, your word is your bond. So at the point in which Brian Kelly told the Notre Dame players, Mike Tomlin said it best when he was asked if he was going to leave Notre Dame. Remember what Mike Tomlin said. Never say never, but never. Close quote. So if you are going to quote Mike Tomlin in regards to are you leaving, big dog, just don't lie to me. So that's my issue. And Klatt, I look at it like this.
Oh, my God.
People who don't take issue with Brian Kelly leaving in the middle of the season.
Look at me when you
People who don't.
Yes, me too.
We're sitting right in front of you.
People who don't take issue with Brian Kelly leaving right now, the timing of his decision, they are either too detached from that college athlete experience or they are too attached to money. Because I understand that Brian Kelly got to go chase his bag, but there's a timing to it. So you're either too detached from that college football experience and realizing these 18 and 19-year-olds, and I know you're not because you do it every freaking week at the highest level, or we're too attached to the money. And so I'm just thinking about the kids who feel betrayed right now.
That sounds great.
Get him, please.
But the answer to what you're talking about lies with what you just said. This is not a unique problem, right? It happened to you, and it's going to happen again. And you know what that's called? The rules of the race. And so if you're going to get in that race and you're going to take off from that starting line, then you're putting yourself out there. And if you're going to be hurt about a guy breaking your heart, then joke's on you.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but that's the truth. That's the truth.
I think it's easy for us all up here as grown men, some older than others. I think it's easy for us. I think it's easy for us all up here as grown adults to be like, yo, joke's on you, 18, 19-year-old. You shouldn't have believed that coach in the first place. But Clatt, go back.
Okay, so what is it, like 21? Is it like having a beer? Like, all right, you're 22, now you can be heartbroken. What is this?
He's college ball is not a business. Because to the student athletes,
it is a business.
To the student athletes,
hold on. First of all, stop living in your yesteryear. Did you guys have NIL deals when you? No. Okay. Did you have the transfer portal when?
You could transfer. You could transfer.
You could transfer when I played too. But guess what? Do we have a transfer portal? Exactly. And sit out a year and penalty et cetera, et cetera. Look, Acho, you're at the wrong station right now. We're at Fox right here. The Hallmark Channel is somewhere on Sunset. I'm certain that somebody wants to hear that, and there's a show for you. But right here, we talking big business. We talking college football. These guys can transfer right now. They're getting paid right now.
They're not getting paid.
Hold on. They have the opportunity to get paid, to earn money. Yes, they can leave early to go to the NFL to get paid, et cetera, et cetera. Here you go. It's not that I'm attached to money. It's just like the old saying, life is a sandwich. No matter how you flip it, the bread comes first. And that's how you got to look at this situation. The bread comes first. Brian Kelly realizes that he's the same guy that he was when he got to Notre Dame. You forgot. How did Brian Kelly get to Notre Dame? Ask Cincinnati. And when did he do it? Exactly. Going into a ball game situation. Hey, I got an opportunity to go to Notre Dame. Promotion to another level. We all choose to elevate. We all choose that ascension. We cannot condemn somebody because of the timing of their ascension. He hit the button for the elevator, as we all do. And then the elevator showed up. You're not supposed to get on. You're supposed to wait. And at Notre Dame, it's interesting. Let's talk some college football history. Because if you really respect college football, you respect who started college football. The Ivy League, right? And the Ivy League, we sit there. Here we go. 1934, we won the Rose Bowl. I'm talking to y'all. Okay, let me fast forward the Hallmark movie that I was going to play. Okay, point being, I've seen firsthand the consequences or the compromise that comes from high academic standards on a football field or in sports in general. The Ivy League used to win. We used to be big time. We were D1A. We used to go out. We won the Rose Bowl, et cetera, et cetera. And then they made a conscious switch. And with that conscious switch came a different breed of athlete. He knows at Notre Dame there's a cap in terms of what kind of athlete we're getting because we're getting better citizens. We're getting more varsity players. We're getting better people for the community. But he knows he can go somewhere with different academic standards, lesser. He could go somewhere else where there's a breeding ground right in your backyard. This is not South Bend, bruh. This is Louisiana, where you go down the street in your locale, there's ripe pickings. I think it was just a great move, not only financially, but for his success to try and close that gap between him and Nick Saban.
I do want to. I hear you, but tell me what he was supposed to do.
Great. That's a
let the elevator just go.
It's a very simple question. Who knew that Brian Kelly was leaving Notre Dame first? Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly knew before you, before I, before you, before the reporters, before the beat writers, before anybody that leaked the story. Brian Kelly knew. Brian Kelly, you can communicate with your team at the point in which you know that you are leaving, so that they don't have to find out via beat writers, via Twitter, via Instagram, via social media, via TV shows. As soon as you know, just communicate it. Only issue I have, Clatt, Sel, is the timing. The point of coaching college football, make your money as a head coach, win games, and develop young men, develop that program. You're winning games, you're developing young men, and you're making money. Can you make more? Yes. But my thing is like, Clatt, I'm not too old to remember or have forgotten when college players get ripped to shreds for not playing in bowl games because they want to go secure their NFL futures. Imagine you start the season 6-0. Ian Book, maybe Notre Dame. You start the season balling. Oh, I'm balling. I'm just going to take the rest of the season off. Imagine what Brian Kelly would have said to him. Imagine what Notre Dame fans would have said to him. Imagine what they would say to a guy who's balling in the middle of the season. Yeah, things are going well. I'm just going to go ahead and quit on the team. Y'all are about to go to a bowl game, potentially a playoff game. I already have Notre Dame making the playoffs. In my mind, they'll get into 4 spots.
And do what?
And now you going to leave to go chase money? When you already got the ultimate or the secondary goal, which is...
So you don't want him to leave.
You
said 2 different things. You said
what's
first
the timing?
it was the way it was communicated
timing.
to the players.
It's the timing.
Yeah, but the timing's not his fault.
Yeah, that's on the right.
That's what I was just trying to explain. Like, the timing is the timing because of the structure of the sport. College football is set up for everyone to act in their own best interest. The players are set up to act in their own best interest. The coaches, the administration, the schools themselves, like Oklahoma and Texas... leaving the Big 12 high and dry. How's that one taste?
How's that timing?
And you know, so I mean, like, the conferences act in their own best interest. That's the race, right? So when I sit down to play Monopoly with my kids, I can't all of a sudden be like, you got Park Place, that's unfair. Like that's just the rules of the game.
Yes.
And I get it. It's not great. I don't love it for those players. I hate it for those players. I don't know, is Brian Kelly supposed to?
Why do you hate it for the players? People say that. I think that's almost
for them.
I think that's a speak and say. You remember those little games? He used to pull the string and then the little toy always say the same thing. It reminds me of that. I feel sorry for the players. If you're trying to raise young men into grown men, the quicker you can let them know the reality that they're going to face, the better you're doing them in terms of service.
That doesn't mean that the first time you face that reality isn't hard.
Oh, no, hard. Hey, life is hard.
And unfortunately, now I don't think that this is the case at Notre Dame, because Notre Dame does about as good a job as any program in the country of identifying really fine young men. I mean, you sit with Notre Dame players, and they are excellent. Kyle Hamilton, and this dude is like top-notch, great, high draft pick, person, everything, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean that it's not a hard lesson to learn.
But it's a lesson you need to learn.
It is a lesson.
It's a lesson they've already taught.
I was going to say that Notre Dame's done a great job, and they have these high-quality, high-class individuals. But at a lot of schools, that's not the case. And you got really fragile 18 to 22-year-olds that maybe haven't had father figures in their life. And the biggest father figure they've ever had is that position coach or coordinator or head coach. Well, that's hard, right? So it's just like saying, well, I don't care about a kid whose parents get divorced. Like, that's still hard.
No, that's not what I'm saying. If that kid has an opportunity because of his talents to leave early, he will leave. That relationship doesn't have to depart with his physical. But that's not every kid. But that's not, yeah, most kids don't make it, right? So that means in this situation, the kids already have been taught the lesson, and therefore the kids are now teaching the lesson. But they're teaching it before they even get to college. I've seen too many times. When I came out, there was no ceremony. There was no gym class where everyone showed up with cameras and which school are you going to? And tons of resources have been poured into you as a 4 or 5 star. And you sat there with your LSU hat and you sat there with your Notre Dame hat and played with schools and played with the futures of those programs and those coaches, right? This lesson's been taught so well, these players are now teaching it themselves before we get here. No tears dropping when all of a sudden your coach says, I got to go. Because no tears dropping when you look at me as a player and say, Coach, I got to go get my opportunity. I pushed the elevator as a freshman. It's here. I'm 21 years old. I'm an All-American. It's time to go make my money. I don't understand why we're trying to flip this into a guilt conversation, because it sounds like everyone's in the same pursuit.
And I'm on your side on this one, certainly. That doesn't mean that it doesn't suck for those players.
The reason, to me, I have issue with it is not because it's not hard, not because life isn't hard. I have issue with the deception of it all. Do not tell me,
You think
Clint.
he lied?
Bruh, not I think he did.
How?
No,
I mean, he said, unless there's a fairy godmother.
22nd.
He gave himself an out.
godmother,
You believe in a fairy godmother?
Sir, but the fairy godmother the out that he gave was attached to $250 million. So if you gonna keep it real,
So you're mad he lied about the amount?
I'm mad that he lied in general because he was being facetious. He said, I'm not leaving. He quoted Tomlin, and Tomlin said, never say never, but never. Close quote.
So you don't like Nick Saban? You don't like...
I don't like the deception. Just keep it real with me. If you're going to leave...
Here, let me help you.
Please.
You ready? Do you know the coach I trust out there the most? Right now?
None.
No.
I'm about to say, who are you talking about?
Nobody has an Ivy League education. None of them, right?
No.
Like
Acho.
The first coach I trust is or the next coach I trust will be the first.
The first one.
I hate to say that, but why? Yeah. Because that's the race that we are in.
Clap, break it down. Let's talk. This segment could go forever, but we're going to get out of here soon. The nature of becoming a college head coach is this. I walk into a living room. Acho, hey, man, I know you play linebacker, a little defensive end, whatever it may be. I want you to come to University of blank, right? And you are going to be our guy. Look, we got a guy there already, but already now, I see the talent in you. I see your size, your frame. We're going to make this work. He leaves you on a private jet and lands in my house, living room. Says the exact same thing to me. And then we got to fight this out. And it's survival of the fittest. My one thing I want you to understand is this. It's my birthday today. I was born in 1974. What year were you born?
90.
90.
90?
90. This is so simple math right here. Clap,
clap.
clap.
I ain't like all that.
You're a grown
Clap.
man.
Do you understand what he just said?
I do.
You talking about the reality? Notre Dame has not won a championship since you've been born, bruh. LSU has won 3 since that same time. The answer is in the money. The answer is in the accomplishments. The answer is in the opportunity. There's nothing else to really calculate.
Do you remember what you served? Like when Mac came to your house and sat in your living room, did you guys have dinner at your house?
Mac came to my high school, and I'll say this much, and maybe Mac is a different breed.
You were the 4-star, not 5. He ain't gonna be nice.
And I was begging. I was a walk-on. I was begging.
Nobody came to my house.
And maybe my standard is high because I had Mac.
Yeah.
And Mac was never like, hey, you gonna come in and start right away. Mac was like, nah, I mean, you gotta earn your stripes.
Nah, I mean.
Did you cook a meal? Like, was there a meal in your house where Mac Brown was at?
Plantains,
Or any of
did you do it?
No. Matt came to the school and we
Okay, so here's what I joke with assistant coaches all the time. We're sitting there like, hour and a half before the game. We're sitting on the field and you'll see pictures like, what's Clat laughing about with the assistants? I always be like, hey, like, give me your worst meal on a recruiting trip story. And they are like, oh, man, I had to choke down, blah, 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 And I'm like, exactly. So you were lying about the meal, weren't you? Yep. They've been lying to these players since the meal.
But does that make it okay?
Yes.
Can we at least establish that?
Yes.
If they do be lying, I'm just simply saying it is not okay. If y'all want to say that they lie, cool.
It's the game. It's the art of war. It's the art of war.
Line, right? So Brian Kelly can't go recruit to Notre Dame by saying, I'm open for business, I'm for sale, right? Because that'll be used against him in recruiting. So he's got to say, I'm not for sale, I'm going to be here for the long haul so that he can go recruit on the chance that he doesn't get the 9-figure offer. Again, it's a tough business, and I think a lot of it has to do with the guardrails of when guys can get talked to and when they can't get talked to. If we had a tampering clause in college football, if we didn't have the early signing day period, then maybe things would settle down and you could be more into the offseason, and then a coach can say, listen, I need to make a business decision. So the timing is clouding this, and I think that we get too emotional based on the timing of when these decisions happen, because Brian Kelly can't, or Lincoln Riley can't ever say, like, I would leave. You can't do that.
No.
And still be successful.
Yeah, the toughest thing for me is I think where you're caught between the reality and the perception or deception. Track and field, first block, got to go there. When you're fast at your school and you show up early to class just to race everybody, like I used to, before school, nutrition, lunch, after school, you did all that, right? Do you remember the first time you all of a sudden got introduced to what fast really looked like? Not just fast, like I could beat everybody I know, but somebody you don't know, and he's as fast as you. What happens is you go to the city meet or the state meet or the nationals, and then you look over and you're like, who is that? They make them like that? And I think Brian Kelly came to this realization after every college football appearance. They make them like that? I've been on a recruiting trail with them. I've been trying to get them. I look at my team, I self-scout. I look at that team, I realize there's no keeping up with these other teams. Point being, Brian Kelly just came to the realization. The elevator came, he says, finally, take another step.
I get it.
Thank you.
You don't like it. Look, you're a purist.
Like it.
You're a purist.
Well, Clap, appreciate you, bro.
Yeah,
always good for joining.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. My email is, and then gift certificate, send it. Let's move on.
Coming up, the Cowboys have a lot of obstacles in their way.
Put me up, Clap.
Heading into Thursday's game, we'll tell you if we're falling apart. But first, Matthew Stafford. Y'all just gonna talk through the whole.
Yeah, I don't want one of them recruiting dinners either.
Look, Matthew Stafford's Hollywood story is turning into drama. We're going to tell you if the Rams should have buyer's remorse on their quarterback. That's next. And happy birthday, Marcellus.
I don't want no black eyed peas from your grandma. I don't want none of that. I want some love. Money. Brian Kelly. What?
The Rams gave up a king's ransom to get Matthew Stafford, but they're currently on a 3-game losing streak, and the quarterback has thrown 3 pick sixes in that span. Now, Sean McVay says he has total confidence in Stafford, adding, quote, I think the narrative everyone wants to throw out 6 turnovers. All of those have a totally different story, and not all of those are his fault. All right, Sel, so the Rams have buyer's remorse on Stafford.
Yes, they do. They have buyer's remorse on Stafford. Let's talk about the whole experience of buyer's remorse. Is when you go out there and get something, and then after acquiring such item, something makes you think about it again in terms of that purchase, right? Something makes you think about the process of acquiring that once again. And if you look at Matthew Stafford, what he's doing is something that people have to be very careful of doing in life. That is, when you have a perception of who you are, good, bad, or ugly, be careful of duplicating and replicating that same perception over and over again. And Matthew Stafford had a perception that, you know what, Matthew Stafford is good when he's good when you want him to be great, and he's not great when you need him to be good. And Matthew Stafford all of a sudden is now in that position once again. You know how I describe him? I describe him as a song that has a banging ass beat, some weak lyrics, and never charts. And that's who Matthew Stafford is to me. And that's the song that... Look, I respect his game. I respect his arm talent. I don't respect the results. And I don't respect that something doesn't add up with all that talent to ultimate team success. So now Matthew Stafford finds himself reminding people of the same perception that they had of him before. The worst thing you could do is walk in a room when people already say, we already know who you are. The next thing you can do that can make that even worse than it was is remind them of the skepticism they had of you in the first place. Sorry, Matthew Stafford, but the back of that credit card, that 1-800 number, they looking at it. They trying to call for that fraud alert. What you looking at?
Never been there? Why you go so hard? I was going to go. I wasn't going to go that hard.
Oh, you want to go? It's my birthday, so I don't give a damn. They say when you get old, you don't trip.
Yeah, they should have buyer's remorse. I'm with you on that.
Come on.
When you had Jared Goff, you were winning on average 11 games, really 10.7 games, but on average, you were winning 11 games. You did not trade 2 first-round picks plus a third-round pick to acquire Matthew Stafford just to go on and win 9 or 10 games. Because right now, you're on pace to win those 9, 10, maybe 11 games.
Yeah.
With Jared Goff, 4 years, Jared Goff, Sean McVay. 3 out of those 4 years, they were 7-4 or better through 11 games in the season. Right now, you sitting at 7-4.
Here we go.
So if you traded all that to get Matthew Stafford, I need to see more. And I don't want to hear no excuses. Oh, well, they lost Brandon Staley. Well, this, well, no. Jared Goff had different defensive coordinators with the Rams. One time it was Wade Phillips. One time it was a young Brandon Staley. And they still were winning 9 games, 10 games, 11 games, 13 games. So Jared Goff somehow, some way was winning with Sean McVay. Is Jared Goff as good isolated as Matthew Stafford? Obviously not. And nobody would say such a thing. But I know this much.
Let's go.
I gave up 2 first, Sel, plus a third to win more than I won when Jared Goff was here. I look at it like this. The only way you can defend not having buyer's remorse, the only way you can look at Stafford and say, nah, we good, we made the right decision, is if you look at Jared Goff and say, well, Jared Goff isn't good, so clearly Matthew Stafford was the right decision. But then I think about it in this manner. Jelly, Sel, the condiment of jelly. It really is fairly useless unless it's paired with peanut butter.
Will you stop doing this?
It is.
A Thomas English muffin with jelly. Ain't no peanut butter on that thing. It's still crispy.
It don't smack, though,
It's
like B&J.
Drums,
It's
please.
edible, but it don't smack like that.
All right, go ahead with your take.
Like jelly, as I think about it, Sel, without peanut butter, kind of useless.
can
But when you pair the two, they really get the job done. Jared Goff without Sean McVay, fairly useless. But when you paired him with Sean McVay, he was getting the job done. And so when I look at it, I'm like, the only defense of Matthew Stafford is that Jared Goff is no good. But I don't look at Jared Goff isolated. I look at Jared Goff coupled with Sean McVay. And Jared Goff with Sean McVay were doing just as much. No, they were doing more than Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay.
Preach.
That's what don't make sense to me.
Now you're making sense because that jelly line threw me off a little bit and got me hungry.
Only eat jelly with the English muffin?
Well, no, toast, bread. Like, you don't
Nice
have
stuff. No butter?
Yeah, well, you can throw butter on there. I don't need butter. That jelly, if you got me some strawberry jam, jam, you throw that thing on. I ain't gonna talk to you right now. I'm gonna talk to the house. I'm gonna talk to Vegas. Do you know that the Vegas line didn't switch before Matthew Stafford came and after Matthew Stafford came? 10.5 games for the Rams. With Jared Goff, they were assuming. Then you get Matthew Stafford. Vegas says, 10.5 games. Y'all ain't fooling us. Fool everyone else out there betting on this team. And it's interesting I bring this up. You say, why do I go so hard? You know me. I got to map what I feel, what I think, onto reality. This dude threw a pick six in 3 straight games. We haven't seen a quarterback do that in 8 years. Any quarterback, name him too. In 8 years, we haven't seen somebody in 3 straight games throw a pick six. Passer rating under 100 in those same 3 games. You look at him now, I see guys like Davis Mills, Taylor Heineke, et cetera, having better completion percentage, something we respect in terms of a stat. My example is this. I don't know when you got introduced to affluent things. The first time I saw Gucci and Louis Vuitton, it was when we were, I don't want to say breaking into our neighbor's garage, but we were just going in there without his permission. And it was open too, or at least we got in. But the point is, we're in there, we're looking through all the old trash. We're like, what do you got in this garage? And we saw a belt. And it was a Gucci side and it was a Louis side. And we were like, oh my God, we hit jackpot. Not only have we seen Gucci, we see Louis on the same belt. Now we like 9 years old not knowing this gotta be a fake. We thought it was real deal Holyfield, right? So we putting it on, we walking around. He ain't gonna miss it, it's in his garage. Anyway, this example brings me to Matthew Stafford. Imagine you go on Rodeo and you spend $4,000 on this belt. Gucci and Louis special edition. And you're like, I gotta, some of these rapper kind of cats, I gotta have it, right? One day I have that flipping. And then you go to the swap meet, all Slauson where you scared to go, and you see that same belt for $40. And you're like, that's the same belt. It's the same exact belt. Matthew Stafford's looking like a replica. He looking like a swap meet belt out here because the Rams, the standard was win the Super Bowl. Jared Goff got us to a Super Bowl. To get us over that hump, we need the real thing. And so far, they're not getting promising results.
I know we all love Matthew Stafford, right? The story of his changing of a person, the story of his wife's overcoming, amazing. And as a person, I really like Matthew Stafford. But eventually, we do have to ask ourselves, why can't Matthew Stafford get the job done?
Talk to me.
In Detroit, we blamed Caldwell as Caldwell's fault. Got Caldwell fired. He up out of there. Obviously, we know Caldwell can coach because the Lions ain't really won no game since. Matthew Stafford 0-3 in the playoffs, but it ain't Stafford's fault. He never had a running back. He never had a running game. But now you come to the Rams, where you know you have a great head coach. You know you have an incredibly talented defense. You have wide receiver weapons. You have tight end weapons. And still sitting at 7-4, a record that was lesser than the majority of Jared Goff's records through this time. I'm just starting to look at Matthew Stafford and ask myself, why isn't it adding up, Stafford? I have to ask myself, why, big dog? Maybe it is actually Matthew Stafford. Maybe it's time for us to stop pointing the blame at other people. I fervently believe winning and losing, it is a quarterback stat. Why do I believe that? Because good quarterbacks, they win. And not good quarterbacks, they lose. And Matthew Stafford, these last couple weeks, 3 pick sixes. You throw a pick against the Niners, then you backdoor and throw a pick six. That changes the whole dynamic of the game. Because what the Rams defense does best is sack the quarterback. But when the Niners take a lead early in the game, now they can run the football. So now the Rams can no longer do what they do best because they don't have a lead because Matthew Stafford gave away the lead. Winning and losing is majority dictated by the quarterback, and Stafford ain't doing a good job of winning, Sel. So I really am starting to look at Stafford. I still got the Rams in the Super Bowl coming from the NFC because I made that bet, and I got to live with it. But I'm really looking at Stafford like maybe you are not the problem, but you're not the answer.
There you go. It's not so much you gave up too much to get less. I don't think he's less of Jared Goff. I don't think he's less than Jared Goff. I think you gave up too much to get the same. And if you gave up all that and you don't get more out of it, why'd you go through that process, the buyer's remorse? The reason why this may be more than buyer's remorse, like you check in your statements, you're like, should I have bought that? You check in and try to balance the checkbook, whatever you do old school. And then you realize maybe this is more than that. Maybe this is a fraud alert because you were warned and you didn't respect all of the warnings. You knew that Matthew Stafford had that bad playoff appearance record. You knew that Matthew Stafford had tremendous talent, but it never materialized. And all of a sudden, you find yourself in this position. So it's not to me their win-loss record, as you brought up. It's not the 7 wins, because you're still right there where you need to be. It's the fact that you're reminding us of something that we tried to dismiss, but is now starting to haunt us, which is when we need you most, we probably can count on you the least. Coming up, big-name college football coaches are on the move. But we'll tell you if Lincoln Riley or Brian Kelly are in a better position. That's next on Speak for Yourself. A day after Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma for USC, Brian Kelly is leaving Notre Dame for LSU. Riley is joining the Trojans team that is 4-7 and has not won a bowl game since 2016. While Kelly will be leading the Tigers team that won the national championship a couple seasons ago, but is 6-6 this year. So, Acho, who's in a better position, Lincoln Riley or Brian Kelly?
Brian Kelly. If you look independent of how good you think the coaches are or are not, Brian Kelly's in a better situation. The last 3 coaches at LSU, they all won national championships. You just brought this up earlier.
Yes.
The last 3 coaches at USC, well, you have Clay Helton, head coach at Georgia Southern, Steve Sarkisian, trying to figure things out at the University of Texas, Lane Kiffin. He goes to being an Alabama offensive coordinator, then he goes to Florida Atlantic, and now he has Ole Miss surviving and thriving. It's vastly different, Sal, between what the 3 coaches at LSU prior to Brian Kelly are doing and the 3 coaches at USC prior to Lincoln Riley are doing. I'll give it to you like this in story form. When I was looking at what class I wanted to take in college, I would look at what is the average grade the students in that class get. What's the average grade the students in the class get of the class that I want to take? Because the grades that the students before me get are to some degree indicative of how easy the class is, how hard the class is, or how I might fare compared to those that have come before me. I would look at the grades in the class that the students before me got. If you're a college coach, you might want to look at how the coaches before you fared at that class, at that program, because to some degree, it could be indicative of how you will fare. Obviously, you can ascend and you can do better, and you can definitely do worse. But you always want to look at how are those who have gone before me done, because it might, not will, but it might be indicative of the challenges I have to face. It won't necessarily be indicative of how I will do, but it will be indicative of the challenges I have to face. And the challenges I have to face might dictate how I will do. Yo, Brian Kelly and LSU, at LSU, those challenges appear to be more simple than the challenges at USC. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not in the meeting room. I haven't been to the games. I've just covered them from studio. But I know this much. Last 3 coaches at USC have not fared well at all. Last 3 coaches at LSU, oh, they have fared pretty well. And I would argue that Lane Kiffin is just as good a coach as Coach O. I would argue that Lane Kiffin is just as good a coach, potentially as Les Miles, if you look at entire body of work, not just at LSU, but the lowlights at LSU and also what went down at Kansas. So for me, I would say LSU and Brian Kelly, better situation.
Well, I'm on the other side of that. And for part of the reasons why you're on that side, I like to bring some of that energy, some of what you said, and articulate it why Lincoln Riley's in a better situation. Let's just start here. He went to a situation that has a greater tradition compared to LSU, greater opportunity, greater location, greater pool of talent in his locale, with lesser expectations. Good Lord, what just happened here? You mean they're not expecting me to go out there and do it like they say and advertise? Whereas LSU, oh, they are. At USC, it's a little different than it is at LSU. Because at LSU, they will fire a head coach who just won a national championship 2 years ago. Where at USC, not only will they have a head coach who is, let's say, under fire, but will beg him to stay. And that same coach will leave USC high and dry in Pete Carroll. See the difference in USC and the difference in LSU? At LSU, you can win a national championship. That was cute. Congratulations, pop champagne. Next year, what's up? Year after that, oh, bye. No matter what you do, Ed Orgeron, good, bad, or ugly, clock's ticking. You got to go. In 2 years, they got him out of there. I'm not talking about the issues. I'm just saying the results. Out of there. USC, issues. Players got Range Rovers. All of a sudden, Pete Carroll, please stay, please stay. Pete Carroll said, no, I'm out of here because I know what's coming. I'm going to Seattle. That is different expectations. And you're telling me the situation comparable, if not better, still at USC. So that's my argument. You're making an argument like, well, what did everyone else do before you? And then how's that going to play for you? Let's talk about that. At LSU, you look at these coaches, Nick Saban, that's the GOAT. We ain't talking about Nick Saban. Les Miles, what are you up to? Anybody? Okay. Ed Orgeron, what are you up to? I don't know, boy. Anybody? Point being, that's not too great of a resume, especially if you look at the GOAT and the distance between the GOAT and the other two. Meanwhile, Clay Helton, figure it out. You already got a coaching job, Georgia Southern. Sark landed on his feet and helicopter to the top. He's at University of Texas, your alma mater. Even though he's struggling, he's still got the opportunity. And Lane Kiffin is the toast of the town right now, especially in the SEC. He's open right now for any opportunity out there in terms of pole position. Lane Kiffin's at the top of that list. I don't know, dog, which argument you want to make. If you're talking about the ones who preceded you, I would say SC still looks better in general. If you want to talk about what situation this moment looks better, it's the one that's better with the lesser expectations.
But you go to coach at college, a big-time college program, to win a chip. We know that much. You go to win a chip. You coach to win a chip. LSU hired Brian Kelly to win a chip. USC hired Lincoln Riley to win a chip. The LSU coaches that preceded Brian Kelly won chips. Now, they might have won it and dipped, but Edo won it and dipped.
Yeah.
And Les Miles won it, and they got him up out of there. Nick Saban, we obviously know he won it. Those three coaches at USC that preceded Lincoln, no chips at all. Now, we're also comparing apples to some degree oranges. Because if you look at Lincoln Riley, if you look at Lane Kiffin 3 years after SC, he wasn't at Ole Miss, and he wasn't top 10. He was Florida Atlantic, or he was meandering his way out of the NFL. I forget which came first. You know better than I. If you look at Sark 3 years after SC, he wasn't at Texas. He was still trying to land on his feet, figuring things out from building up a Washington team to then later on going and being OC at Bama. And being the head coach of Georgia Southern, if you were the head coach of USC, it's just not
That's a fall down.
Yeah, that's just
I'm
trip, fell, you still on the ground. Just get you a pillow, make yourself comfortable. So I think it's comparing a little bit apples to oranges. I just know this much, is LSU has won, and LSU we know still can win. So we talked about this yesterday. I'll bring it up again. It is easier to stay in shape than it is to get in shape. But you also, if you haven't worked out in a while, but you know how to, you might have a little bit of residual fitness. You now got yourself in shape. Your boy tried to stay in shape. But over Thanksgiving, I took about 4 or 5 days off. I can still go back to work out and snap back because I got a little residual fitness.
Snap back.
But if you are like USC and you ain't worked nothing out in about 20 years, I don't even know if you have that residual fitness. LSU was sorry this year and last year, but they won a chip 2 years ago. They still have residual fitness. They can snap back.
that.
USC ain't won a chip in about 20 years. I don't know if it's as easy for them to snap back. LSU won an SEC championship game just 2 years ago. SC ain't won a Pac-12 championship game since 2017. So even when I look at how hard it will be to turn LSU around, LSU still has some championship DNA in them. USC, you got to try to reconstruct a DNA and championship mentality all from scratch.
You're making my point again, and I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. It's going to be an easier road in terms of talent because of what's on the roster right now. Faster road, I should say, in terms of turning LSU back into a champion, right? Because you were just champions, so we can't be that far off, can we? Versus USC. But the road ahead for USC is smoother and easier because it's the Pac-12 versus SEC and the rigors of that conference. Point being, what's the use of winning the championship? Ed Orgeron, potentially Brian Kelly, and this is how y'all treat me. This is the thanks I get. If I go out there and win a championship and in 2 years, you're running me out because you don't like my personality. And let's remind people of the personality of Brian Kelly. That was a little too emotional, a little too much for Notre Dame in the beginning. And they calmed him down, and he calmed himself down. But now he gets to go to SEC and act a fool like he wants to on the sidelines. Now, he goes out there and wins the championship because he's the second most winning coach behind Nick Saban, right? And then he also looks up and he's like, we got a championship. Yay. Then that personality's out. And all of a sudden, they look at him like they looked at Ed Orgeron. What warms you will burn you. They loved Ed Orgeron. Oh, yeah, that's our guy. And then as soon as they heard other things, all of a sudden, that started to spiral out of control. Don't bring up Sark. Don't bring up Lane Kiffin. They all had their own personal issues as well, which had an impact on their road from USC. I just look at it simply like this. If I'm Lincoln Riley, you mean I get all these top prospects, LSU does as well. But we get top prospects and we could get the quarterbacks, most important position. Right here, we got this storied tradition that just needs to be plugged back in, reignited. All those things, location, Southern California, entertainment capital, where all that. And then if I don't succeed, ain't nobody trying to cut my head off. Whereas LSU, even if you do succeed, you better watch your back because they coming for you, dog. Coming up, the Cowboys are in the playoff hunt, but they've lost 2 straight games. We'll tell you if Dallas is falling apart. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. This week on Thursday Night Football, Dak Prescott leads the NFC East, leading Cowboys against the Saints. All kicks off at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Fox NFL Network and streaming on Prime Video. And speaking of that game, Dallas has a few obstacles heading into New Orleans. Mike McCarthy tested positive for COVID-19 and will miss the game. And defensive tackle Tristan Hill, hey dude, you better chill, was suspended 2 games for punching a Raider after last week's loss. After, I said. Dallas is still tied with the Rams for the 4th best odds to win the NFC according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. So, Acho, the Cowboys falling apart.
Yeah, they are, man. Literally and figuratively, they're falling apart. First thing, literally, Amari Cooper, he might miss his 3rd game because of sickness. CeeDee Lamb, he might miss an additional game. He's already missed 2 or 1.5 due to the concussion. Tyron Smith has been beat up. They benched Connor Williams at left guard, replaced him with Connor McGovern. He's really not playing any better. Zeke, at first, there reports he's not going to play because of his knee injury. Now Jerry Jones asserts that he is going to play through his knee injury. So literally, the Cowboys are falling apart. Now, figuratively, they're falling apart in the sense that they have lost 3 out of their last 4 games. Dak Prescott has played poorly in 2 out of their last 4 games. They cannot win or have not won dominantly and convincingly against a good team at home. You lose to the Broncos at home. Oh, you beat the Falcons. You think you got back right. Then you come back and you lose again to the Raiders on Thanksgiving at home. The Cowboys are literally a bit of a mess, figuratively a bit of a mess. Coach currently has COVID. 2 other offensive dominant coaches have COVID. When you look at the Cowboys, it's just a matter of how much longer can you keep this thing afloat. Remember, y'all, they were 5-1 going into the bye week. They're sitting at 7-4 now with bad losses, not just losses, but some bad losses. So when I look at this Cowboys team, they are not who they were, in large part due to injury, but that's a part of it. When you get out of the game of football, oftentimes you lose your love for playing, but you typically lose your love for playing because your body betrayed you first. Physically falling apart is probably the majority of the reason that most players stop playing, not just losing a passion. But Gronk retired not just because he was tired of Belichick. He retired because dude had had surgery after surgery after surgery. Patrick Willis, he retired because he was having those foot problems. He was a beast. Luke Kuechly, he retired because of concussions. Being able to navigate injuries and navigate sickness and navigate health is all a part of navigating a career and navigating a season. Right now, the Cowboys are in the midst of a storm, and we're seeing them start to wither away, at least by record.
I like that. I like that. They're not falling apart, but I like what you just said there, because everything you said was tangible, and everything you said can also be replaced. And let's start with the replacement. Zeke, in terms of his production, can be replaced. It can. They have tangible reasons why they look like the sky is falling, but things that they can insert and stop the bleeding in this moment. Here's the tough decision they have to make. Ezekiel Elliott, no more, man. Take one of them stripes off your sleeve. Let's see how they salute you now. Because Tony Pollard is in the building. So for me, how do you fix a team that looks like it's falling apart? You simply do what you need to do. Next man up, and if we have that man right there, you actually assert that guy in the proper position. But you are giving it a picture and a painting that is funny to me because my son does this all the time. He hates when his sister, Araya, breaks his Legos. And I always tell him, Legos don't break, they just come apart. You can attach them once again. You give me Coach, he's out. He can come back, and he will come back, right? You give me CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, they're gone. They will come back. You attach those Legos back to this, and all of a sudden, the sky's not falling. If CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, and then you put Tony Pollard in because he's productive and he's healthy, and all of a sudden Coach comes back, all of a sudden they're not falling apart, right? You reattach those Legos. So falling apart to me is like, hey, you fell apart, and I don't think I'll know how to put you back together. We know the real reasons, the tangible reasons the Cowboys are in this position, losers of 3 of the last 4. It's because the team is just battled and injured right now. They will be fine going forward.
Let's run with that story for him, if you will, because a part of it is, will you run out of time? And the only fear for me is more so, will the Cowboys run out of time?
Yeah.
I would assume that MJ gets distraught when Araya breaks the Legos, more so because either he won't be able to put it back together like it was prior, or maybe y'all are running out the house. Maybe he has to go to school. Maybe it's bedtime. Maybe it's nap time. So he's running out of time to rebuild what he had built. That's where the Cowboys might be.
Okay.
It's not to say that they can't get back into a 5-1 form. But will they run out of time? Will they continue to lose and all of a sudden you're a 4 seed, your first game is against the Rams, and the Rams snipe you? All of a sudden you're a 4 seed, somehow the Niners climb into this mix and the Niners look pretty good, Niners snipe you. Will they run out of time before they can rebuild what they once had built? Because 6 weeks into the season, everything looked great. And now everything is, to some degree, damaged. Can it be repaired? Surely. But can the replacements do as good a job? I don't know. Michael Gallup, he's a top flight dude, but he ain't been what Amari Cooper is. Cedric Wilson, when he was playing behind CD, behind Amari, Cedric Wilson looked like a dude. But Cedric Wilson and Michael Gallup have paled in comparison to Amari Cooper and CD Lamb.
Yeah.
I'm with you on Tony Pollard, and we're going to talk how Zeke needs to be on the bench later in this show. But can Tony Pollard do it when he has to do it all himself? I think he can. What if he can't? They benched Connor Williams at left guard for Connor McGovern. Look at all the beat writers' tweets. Look at their post-game pressers. Look at all the beat writers' stories in Dallas. I follow them. They were like, man, you just replaced one error for a different error. You replaced one post-snap penalty for a pre-snap penalty. So I don't know that the Cowboys will have enough time to rewrite the ship, if they can right the ship again at all.
No, I think they definitely will right the ship. Like, I'm just more optimistic about this team. One, because I know they're going to get healthy. And then once they get healthy and everyone comes back, their plan A is actually on the field. Why wouldn't they have success? They had success early part of the season with their plan A players. So now they're in a situation right now. Imagine you hungry, Acho, and you can walk into the kitchen and there's nothing there. Versus you're hungry, but stuff in there, it just doesn't match, right? Ham, no burger. You know what I'm saying? Lemon, no egg. You know what I'm saying? You're sitting there like, damn, that's the Cowboys right now. Stuff just ain't matching right now. It's like they're going to go shopping, and then they're going to come back with the groceries. We're going to have that ground meat. You know what I'm saying? And then mama going to sit there with that Laurie season, and it's going to work out just fine. And MJ is not distraught because we ran out of time, we running out the house. He's just stingy and selfish, and he's got a sibling rivalry. He don't like his sister that much. That's how the game goes. Let's talk about this, though. You talked about navigating through and being tough or not tough because of physical injury, and that's why most players retire. It's interesting. There are players, and I don't know how it occurs. Some players are just injury prone. And some players are not, no matter what. I had my boy, I always talk about Dennis Northcutt, never had a surgery. I don't think he was ever hurt. Played like 10 years, he's 105 pounds. It's like, dog, I had a surgery every year. And I was big, fast, strong, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is the navigation through it all. And that's all this is. How many teams, we can name them, we can list them, have went through ups and downs this season? And how many of those you can actually apply that to injury or just subpar performances when healthy? The point is, the same way we talk about the Green Bay Packers, oh, okay, no matter who's hurt, who's playing, they still perform, it seems like. And then there's another tier of teams. Well, when they're missing some guys, not exactly the same team as the Dallas Cowboys. And there's just some teams, no matter who they put out there, just ain't going to get it done, right? My point is, once the Cowboys attach those Legos once again, I think you're going to see fully formed Voltron. They're going to go get it.
The question then now becomes, what do they do in the interim? Because when I think about McCarthy coach teams, I remember, 2014, they start 1-2. That's when Aaron Rodgers says, relax, RELAX, spells all that out. They go on to make the playoffs. We know that. They get to the NFC Championship game. 2016, Packers start off 4-6. Aaron Rodgers goes to the podium. We're not going to lose again. They don't. They go back to the NFC Championship game. They beat the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas, if I am not mistaken. Right. That always came from within on that organization. But it also came from Aaron Rodgers' just blatant cockiness and just unmerited arrogance at times. Dak Prescott doesn't have that, which is why we love Dak Prescott so much. Dak Prescott never goes out there and says, I'm a bad man. Dak Prescott will never go out there and tell everybody to relax. Dak Prescott is Mr. Company Man. Say all the right things, maintain humility at all times, and that's why he is so lovable and so likable. But when you are so lovable, so likable, and so humble, that might not necessarily help you get your whole team out the mud, because they might need that arrogance and that confidence like Rodgers displayed, because you're not going to get it from Mike McCarthy, your head coach, because the Packers never got it from him. So in the interim, while we are waiting on the Cowboys to get back right, Dak Prescott's still there. I think Dak Prescott's going to have to do something that he's not even wired to do, or at least hasn't shown an ability to do, or desire.
Yeah, but that unmerited arrogance, it's almost like sizzle, no substance. And I understand that Aaron Rodgers is substance and sizzle as well. But what Aaron Rodgers been in the league? 13, 14 years, whatever it may be, as a starter, 2008?
As a starter, yeah, 14, I believe.
Yeah. How many championships? Let me stop putting S's on stuff. Championship, right? One. And Dak Prescott's like, look at my results, dog. Like, my results are so close to someone with unmerited arrogance and MVPs, and he's in arm's reach right now. Dak Prescott, say what you want about this team, still has the top-ranked total offense, second-ranked scoring offense. This team, in those 3 games we keep talking about, 2 of the last 3 games, 30-plus points. They have the most 40-point games this year, tied with the Buffalo Bills. Like, all I know is, and that's going through the roller coaster ride. When everyone gets healthy, they might get healthy at the right time, at the prime time, right into the playoffs. Then we'll see what they can do. Put those Legos back together, MJ, your selfish ass. Coming up, Brian Kelly is leaving Notre Dame for LSU, but we'll tell you if we have an issue with him doing it right now. That's next. Don't speak for yourself.
All right, let's get back to the huge news in college football. If y'all have been keeping up, then y'all have heard Brian Kelly, leaving Notre Dame as the school's all-time winningest coach, is headed to LSU. Now, the Fighting Irish are 11-1. They're in the hunt for a college football playoff spot, which sparked USA Today to rip Kelly for the timing of his decision, calling his exit classless and gutless. And heartless, and emotionless,
and that article,
and vigorous.
It was less.
I added the last two. But nonetheless, they still said it was classless and gutless. Sel, what do you say? Do you have an issue with Brian Kelly leaving Notre Dame?
No. Leaving Notre Dame, not at all. Right now, not at all. There's no wrong time to do the right thing. Guess what? This is the right thing to do if you're Brian Kelly. Gots to go. You know why? Because I'm going somewhere that's better. It's just that simple. Like, Brian Kelly has made a simple, logical summation that I've been at Notre Dame. I've won more games here than any other coach in Notre Dame history. That includes Lou Holtz, Lou Rockne, like, whoa, legends, right? And no rings. He also made a summation that only Nick Saban has more wins than me. And how many rings does Nick Saban have? Man, in the last 12 years, he's won 6. Good Lord. And that's not even counting the one at LSU. Good Lord. So he's like, this ain't adding up. And you know why it's not adding up? Because he knows there's a glass ceiling in terms of the talent he's able to recruit at Notre Dame. Notre Dame wants, as they say, more than athletes. You know what I mean? Like, they want good citizens, great students. They want kids that know where the library is and also the facilities, right? Where LSU, I don't know what they want, but I know what they got. They got guys that's like, yo, I know where the field at, and I know how to act when I get on that field. So I respect that. If you're Brian Kelly, he just looked at it like, I've been doing this well, but stopped right short of getting over that hump. And I've been balling out of control with choir boys, literally choir boys. And he's like, I got to go where the athletes are, the next level, not the top 1%, the top 0.1%. And those kind of athletes are in the breeding ground of Louisiana, and they're loyal to LSU. So he needs to go where the going is good. And I'm not mad at a guy who hits the button on that elevator, waits for it patiently, and finally it opens up, ding, and he takes a step in. Because we're all trying to do that. I know you've been on audition after audition, week after week. Every time I watch you, I'm like, I see you more on other shows than our show. I respect that gangster.
Don't do me like this.
The Bachelor, extra, you everywhere, dog. And that's love. People always thinking, am I hating? I'm like, no, I don't hate. I tell them I don't like it. No, but the point is, dog, if that elevator said ding fully and you took an opportunity, and you let the co-host killer win again, I know you're going to be loyal to your boy. But the point is, those opportunities present themselves. It presented itself to Brian Kelly. He had to take it.
I don't hate Brian Kelly for leaving, so I told you this. I hate the timing of his departure.
Let's go.
I don't hate Brian Kelly for chasing money, but you always have to ask yourself, Who are you becoming as a result of the chase? And who are you becoming to the people who care about you most as a result of the chase? If you don't have a problem with the timing of Brian Kelly's departure, I think you're either too detached from that college athlete experience or you are too attached to money. Brian Kelly left in the midst of a college football playoff berth. I believe Notre Dame will get the number 4 seed in the college football playoffs. All season long, Brian Kelly has preached to his team, preached to that group of young men, hey, let's keep winning. Let's make it to the playoffs. Let's fight for a championship. Hey, after that loss to Cincinnati, we can do this. Stay on track. Let's get to the college football playoffs. Let's win a national championship. We have this, men. And it went from we to I. At the wrong time and far too quickly for my liking. You sold a whole bunch of players a dream, and then in the midst of dreaming, you woke up and left to go to Baton Rouge. I don't have an issue with them leaving, but I hate the timing of the departure. I remember when people would criticize college football players for not playing in bowl games because they want to get ready for the NFL. Yet Brian Kelly decides to leave before what will likely be the biggest games of them all. Because you want to go to LSU and just sit there for the next month and a half and recruit.
Oh, stop.
So to me, Sel, it's not about Kelly leaving. It's about the deception of Kelly leaving. Because make no mistake, November 22nd, when asked, hey, Brian Kelly, are you leaving? He said, never say never, but never. He didn't say that. He said, Mike Tomlin said it best. And Mike Tomlin said that. So, Brian Kelly, if you are going to imply that you will never leave just 9 days ago, and then you are going to say that if you were to leave, oh, my wife would have to approve the decision, assuming we got $250 million, then just don't lie to me. And that's what he did to the players. That's my only issue.
Man, do you know where you are? Do you know what world you live in? Where people take oaths on Bibles and holy books and say to death do us part. And there are more people divorced than married. Like the divorce rate, 50-some%. Everybody lying out here, and they telling the truth in that moment. That's just what life is. I don't understand why you don't get this. Game recognized game, homeboy. You need to flip it, because you looked at it as we. And then that turned into I. Nah, it was just we. Flip it over. Look in the mirror. What does we look like in the mirror? Me.
It looks like ew. That's what it looks like.
Me. Ew. You wish you were me. Don't you wish you were me? Don't you wish your boyfriend... All right, here's the thing. I don't know what just happened. Brian Kelly is my dog. That's my spirit animal right now, because I'm the most loyal man that money can buy. Damn right. And Brian Kelly said the same thing just like those players said. You keep talking about their playoff berth, and this year they're 6th ranked and they're going to get in. And you just interrupted our season. Boy, they're going to get slapped down like they did the other times they got into it. Do you know what the combined scores have been of them in the playoffs? Combined, 103 to 31. You want to do some simple math right there, youngster? That sounds like about 34 to 10. That means game over, halftime, talk to the cheerleaders, text your mama, it ain't gonna be pretty after this game. That's Notre Dame. And when game recognizes game, Meek Mill style, there are levels to this. When he self-scouts, he's like, all right, we got a good team. Let's go to the college football playoffs. Let's go get it. Oh, my God. 2012, 2020, whatever it may be, you look up. All right, look up. We got this. Now he's like, all right, let's go see our opponent. What we gonna do? How we gonna strike them? He like, oh. I've been recruiting them. They ain't here. They over there. And that's why he gets smacked down. Don't get mad at a guy for doing something you would do as well, Acho. Go to the best opportunity that presented itself.
I would do it, Sel. I just wouldn't have done it when he did it. Again, maybe I'm speaking from personal experience, and maybe I'm too close to the college experience. I'm only 10 years removed, really 9 as it stands right now. I remember my defensive coordinator recruiting me back to come for my senior year because I was thinking about leaving after the junior year. I've told you this story before. We were 5-7 my junior year. Year before, we went to the national championship. So I'm like, yo, I've already lived the entire college experience. I've gone to the biggest game of them all, and I've had the worst season in Texas history. I have nothing to come back for. But my defensive coordinator sits me down and all the other juniors that are thinking about leaving and says, hey, fellas, come back, let's right this ship. Let's right these wrongs. We can get back to where we were, get back to a national championship game. Like, hey, I believe in you. We've been riding together for 3 years now, been through a lot of highs, a lot of lows. I'll be back. I decided to come back. The other top prospects, we all decided to come back. We are sitting at our end of year banquet, awarding the MVPs, the team MVPs, honoring the captains. I'm sitting at the linebacker table next to my dog, Keenan Robinson. My coach supposed to be right there next to me. Check my phone. He ain't here. Check my phone again. He ain't here. Shoot him a text. No response. Next thing you know, I get the alert. It wasn't even Twitter at the time because Twitter wasn't popping. I get the apps from a sports network. Will Muschamp has decided to leave Texas and accept the head coaching job at the University of Florida. I think that's where he departed to. Sal, when I tell you I was sick, and the reason I was sick was because of the deception. You sold me a dream and then abandoned me in the midst of the dream that you sold me on. If you would have never sold me the dream, I wouldn't have tripped. But don't convince me to do one thing and then do the polar opposite of the thing you convinced me to do. Brian Kelly convinced these players to play hard so that they can collectively get to the playoffs and win a national championship game. That is what Brian Kelly convinced these players to do. In the midst of doing the very thing he has convinced the players to do, he abandoned the players while they're in the middle of doing what he convinced them to do. They didn't convince themselves. Kelly stood in front of all those men and said, fellas, let's play hard this season. Let's get to the playoffs. Let's get to the chip. And while they doing that, the same thing that he told them to do, he gonna leave. It makes no sense from the player perspective. Does it make plenty of sense?
No.
I get that. No. But does it make logical sense when you could have left in another month and a half? Come on, Brian.
Hey, man, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And this made both. It made dollars and it made sense. And I'm doing it right now. Yes, player. Because you got to understand, it ain't about what he sold them. It's what they bought. And guess what? If you get mad at somebody else for selling you a dream, you need to be mad at yourself first for buying it. We playing football, dog. I got recruited, and as soon as I show up, it's dudes looking just like me, if not bigger, faster, stronger. And I was like, how you get here? Pull string. Coach said you need to come here, and there's going to be an opportunity for you to start at running back in 2. Marcellus, what'd you hear? Coach said come here, it'll be an opportunity for you to start at running back. Dog, that's the name of the game, and now you're going to get mad at the game? Don't hate the player. Don't hate the player. So here's the thing. I'm looking at him. Dog, if that's, you just bought a house. It was fully constructed. It looked like it was all done. The pool. I can't wait for my invite. Never coming. It's life. Okay. But if I were a contractor and I walked up to you to Acho and said, man, I got some plans for you, Acho. How you doing, man? Oh, my God. I know you're killing it out here. Here's the opportunity for you. I'm a contractor. There are 2 things you need to know already before I even say my name. It's going to take twice as long and it's going to take twice as much for this to come to fruition. And if y'all listen to a coach, as we had Joel Klatt on here say, you know the next coach I'll trust will be the first coach I trust? Because they're out there selling a dream. Dog, there are 11 positions on offense, 11 positions on defense. And at the college game, there are 85 to 100 players. So many players, they're all wearing the same number. You number 6 on offense, you number 6 on defense. Nobody buying this hype. So when he goes out there and sells it to you, I hope you ain't buying it.
Sell. You can't live in a world where you don't buy anything that someone sells you. You can't live your life assuming that everyone and their mama is a liar.
I didn't say that.
At least me, the coaches I respect the most are the ones that shoot you straight. I'm in Philly. It's my 2nd year in the National Football League. The Eagles have just traded for me. No. Special teams coach Dave Phipp, I believe he's currently a special teams coach for the Lions. He looks at me and he's like, I'll be honest with you. You're going to have a really hard time making this team.
Just keep it.
He's like, you can, but it's going to be very hard for you to make this team. Thanks, Coach. I wrote that down in my spiral.
You didn't know that before he said that?
No.
He dropping knowledge?
Coaches. Chip, hey, man, y'all go out there, y'all do everything right. Y'all going to be right here on the squad, and if not our squad, you'll be on another squad.
Well, he ain't lying.
Coach Phipp is just like, hey, I'll be real with you, bruh. You probably going to get cut unless something happens. And I'm like, thank you. Because at a minimum, you keeping it a buck with me. So if you are Brian Kelly, and you told these players on November 22nd, and you told the world on November 22nd that you are not leaving. Then 9 days later, not only have you left, but you also sent me a message on a Teamworks app saying, hey, fellas, I'm sorry you had to find out from somebody else. I didn't have to. You forced me to. Brian Kelly. You saw how it played out with Lincoln Riley a day before, Sal. You knew stuff leaks, and Lincoln did the best job I've ever seen.
Still not perfect, though.
Coach. Still not perfect. But it was phenomenal how tight they kept that to the vest before it leaked. I was like, yo, did nobody find out?
Right.
Brian Kelly, you knew it was going to leak. Notify the people who have done the most for you. I don't know how much you've done for them, I'll be honest. But at a minimum, they have done the most for you over the last 10-plus years. And if we're talking specifically to this season, over the last 10-plus months, at least tell them. You ain't got to tell everybody. Sal, if you quit speak, you ain't got to tell me. But tell your wife. Tell your kids. tell the people that have done the most for you.
Yeah.
If I don't see you one day, bet.
Yeah.
But at least tell to those that have been pouring into you for the last God knows how long.
You better not ever compare my wife to no team. I ain't got that many 5-star. I got one wife. And she play all positions. She tired too. She hurting right now. Here's the thing, Acho. OG told me this when I was in the Buffalo Bills. I was a rookie. I was a sponge. I was taking it all in. Amongst all the advice I got, and it's a lot of it, he said, when you go out, when you go to these functions and all this stuff, he says, if you say goodbye, you'll never leave. And that's something that you need to understand. I know you've been there before. Like, all right, man, whenever the handshakes turn sideways to this, you're going to be there for another 20 minutes. And you're like, dog, I'm trying to get up out of here, dog. So you finally just got to dip. And I understand it's a sad reality, but it is the reality that you just can't address things all in present time right now. That's the Irish goodbye. I heard that. Oh, okay, to leave. So the point is, man, don't do that. The point is this, Acho, please, let's just come to an agreement on this. The guy did something that was great for him. I know we get caught up because we're sportscasters and we're talking sports. He made a great life decision. Like, say what you want. This is an opportunity to go from here, and it's not a lateral move. Notre Dame hasn't won a championship since you've been born. And you are 30 years old, bro. LSU has won 3 since 2000. He's went up in his life. Whether it works, whether it doesn't, whether he had to break some hearts in the process. Can we get back to that matter? Not more than mine. No. Like, Acho, if you leave me, but you happy, you know what I do? Suck it up and say, I'm proud of you. Now, it'd be nice if you let me know before the group text.
That's all I'm saying, Sam.
But you know what? In this today and age, I didn't know you was on The Bachelor until I watched it. Coming up, I'm like, Brett Favre is coming comparing Mac Jones to Tom Brady. We'll tell you if we're okay with his bold statement. That's next, though. Speak for yourself. I didn't even get a ticket to the audience and that. Watches are riding high on a 6-game win streak. There's even chatter about a potential Super Bowl run. Mac who? Mac Jones is showing why he was a first-round pick and Hall of Famer Brett Favre even compared the rookie to quarterback that everyone in New England has heard of, calling him, quote, a young carbon copy of Tom Brady. So, Acho, you okay with Brett Favre comparing Mac Jones? Who? Mac Jones to Tom Brady?
Not really in hindsight. Not really because, so, in their rookie years, I would hope Mac Jones is better than Tom Brady. In their rookie years as starters, not to be confused with their rookie years. Second year for Brady. Yeah. Mac Jones was number 15 overall pick. Tom Brady was number 199.
Okay.
Mac Jones came from an Alabama team that has been on the heels and presently in national championships. Tom Brady, not so much. Mac Jones came from a program coached by Nick Saban, who is just as much of an NFL coach. So Mac Jones should be better than rookie Tom Brady. The problem, or rookie starter Tom Brady. The problem when we make these comparisons is we compare Mac Jones to greatest of all time, Tom Brady. And Mac Jones can't tie the shoelace of greatest of all time, Tom Brady. We also make the mistake of not realizing how the times have changed. Back during Tom Brady's days of 2001, his first year as a starter, on average, you passed for 215 yards a game. Right now, we pass for 250 yards a game. Back in 2001, Tom Brady's first year as a starter, 23 touchdowns a year on average for quarterbacks. Now, 33 touchdowns a year on average for starting quarterbacks. So we look at Mac Jones' numbers and say, man, his numbers killed Tom Brady's numbers from back in the day.
They do.
But it's a completely different time. Right now, $200,000 might not be that much money. $200,000 back in 1950 was a whole lot of money because it's not just about what you're doing, but what is the average during the time in which you are doing it. So Mac Jones is doing well, but if you look at Mac Jones' stats, you can't look at him compared to Tom Brady's rookie year stats. You got to look at Mac Jones' stats compared to the average of right now, and all of a sudden, it much more so levels out. Mac Jones is balling right now, making some great passes, and he has the Patriots sitting atop the AFC East and really atop the AFC. But I just hate comparing rookies to greatest of all time.
I don't. I'll give a damn. I'll compare anybody, and you know, track and field, our favorite sport. I go out all the time and watch a track meet, watch the 8-year-olds. Now they got the 6-year-olds out there, ashy, suits too big, but they jogging.
Kevin Durant ashy?
Woo! KD, what he gonna say to you? Y'all broke. He's talking to you, he ain't talking to me. So here's the thing. I watch them because I'm just a student of the game. And I know that I'm making a summation that may not be a realization, but I'm still going to go out there and make this proclamation. Here we go. I've seen an 8-year-old before. Age group champion, age group record, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years. You know them all the names. I'll tell you all the time. Or Quincy Watts here, or Obi Moore there. Quincy Watts wins the Olympic gold medal. So he actually comes to fruition in terms of his talent as a youngster. Obi Moore never did, even though he's in high school running in the Olympics, Olympic trials and all that. And then there's Usain Bolt. We know how this race ends. Usain Bolt won. But at 8, 9, 10, there are other guys right there with him. So for me, sitting in the stands, I'm sitting there like, this dude is as fast as or faster than Usain Bolt at that age, at that time. I'm not going to use the time shift like you do. Usain Bolt finished career versus, oh, this little 8-year-old. Man, I ain't going to mention the 8-year-old with Usain Bolt. Yes, I am, because I'm going to mention Usain Bolt as an 8-year-old versus this 8-year-old. Look at Mac Jones' numbers as a rookie starter. And Tom Brady in his first year as a second-year starter in 12 games. Mac Jones got him. Like, it's just simple. Like, and I understand it's a different day and it's a different dude. But if you look at those results, this is what you need to take from it. Was Tom Brady ever in the discussion for Rookie of the Year? No, because he was on the bench. In his second year as a first-time starter, did anyone think that that team was running through Tom Brady in terms of the level that they think this team is running through Mac Jones? No. You know why? Because I was on the field. Why? Because I used to have to defend against him. Why? Because I got the game plans. Even Eric Mangini has come up here and candidly said, we didn't have much out of Tom Brady in the early years, just don't make mistakes. That's not Mac Jones, and I think people are losing this because he's not athletic. Mac Jones has 40 big pass plays of 20-plus yards. Tom Brady had 28. They use Mac Jones differently than they use Tom Brady for different reasons. And I respect Tom Brady as who he is, but in that moment, you got to respect more Mac Jones or who he was.
The difference for me, though, Sel, it's all different time, man. You know, Tom Brady's first year as a starter, he was still a Pro Bowler. Tom Brady's first year as a starter, I have to look at how did things go compared to Mac Jones, compared to the grouping. Like, I'm not going to compare Tom Brady to Mac Jones, just like I'm not going to compare Jesse Owens' time of winning the 100-meter dash in, what was it, 1944, something like that, to the 100-meter dash winner right now. It's different times. Mm-hmm. Jesse Owens won back then, but the winner right now is significantly faster because there's appreciation, there's inflation. Mm-hmm. So what Mac Jones is doing right now, sure, it's better than what Tom Brady was doing then, but it's inflated, so it should be better. I just don't know outside of the fact both their defenses are great. Mac Jones is doing great. Mm-hmm. Comparing him to the GOAT, it's just unnecessary. I feel you of like...
No, you feel Brett Favre. You mad at me? Which one?
I understand why you're like, oh, well, let's compare how they both look at 8. But we know how it ended for Tom Brady.
And we don't know how it ends for Mac Jones. I think what you have done is put a limit on him because you see the GOAT, and you're like, there's no way you're going to pass that. I agree with that, but it's kind of fun watching them in at least the pursuit. Coming up, the Chargers started off hot. Boy, that hit a rough patch. I don't want to do this topic. We'll tell you if their success was fool's gold. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. Just outro, though. Man, you ain't going to do me like that.
Marcellus, I want to look away on this one, big dog.
Why?
Because your Chargers are terrible. Now, they came out red hot, 4-1, but since then, they've lost 4 out of 6, and you've been at most of those games.
Chill.
Now, the Chargers are still in the playoff hunt, but Justin Herbert has thrown 7 interceptions in that span. You're older, you're wiser. It's your birthday. So I'm going to need your wisdom on this one. Was the Chargers' success fool's gold?
Fool's gold? No, fool. It wasn't fool's gold. Don't start. It's been a tale of 2 seasons. That's all I want to say. And you know what? We're going to flip that coin back over and get back to what we were doing in the beginning of the season. We've had this conversation about the Dallas Cowboys. You can have this conversation in terms of a lot of teams that's hitting a rough patch. It's a long season, longer season than they've ever had in terms of 17 games. That said, they haven't run their full course yet. We're still in the playoff contention, right? We're still a team that, and I don't even want to say this aloud, but I'm going to say it. This is our best start in the last 3 years. You know what that means? With a second-year quarterback in Justin Herbert, who not everyone fully respects, but certainly the guy's going to go through his ups and downs, his growing pains, and a first-year head coach, I applaud this team who may have exceeded expectations in the beginning and all of a sudden hit the rough patch. But in life, it's not about you falling down, Nacho. It's about you getting up. It's not about adversity presenting itself. It's for you to advance past that same adversity. So all I'm doing is going to SoFi in my season ticket, sitting there chilling, big dog hole style. And I'm rooting my team on to the playoffs where my team will also make some noise. I'm out, okay?
Sal, I won't say that they're fool's gold, but I'll say if you thought they were gold, you were a fool.
Oh, you want to do that?
And I didn't think they were gold. Someone, however, did.
Give me the mic back.
Remember, I said that the Chargers are going to have to take their lumps. I said that they're going to have to take their bumps. I said that you got to go through the trials before you can get to the top. Now, I thought they were going to happen in the playoffs. I'm no longer sure the Chargers are even going to make it to the playoffs.
Chill.
You last week came on this show, and you're an incredibly intelligent individual. So to some degree, I believed you. You said Justin Herbert was the best quarterback in football right now. Justin Herbert currently has as many interceptions right now as he did all of last season. Sal, you came out here and you told me that these Chargers were one of the best teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
After 5 weeks, they're leading the AFC West, but right now they're what? Sitting there in last place, tied for last place, flirting with the Denver Broncos and the Raiders, all just stuck there at 6 and 5. The Chargers are not who we thought they were, and I won't let them off the hook. Y'all gonna get that reference.
You cramming! You cramming!
Look,
What?
It's Jekyll and Hyde for your boy Herbert, man. When y'all win, 17 touchdowns, 2 picks on the season. In losses, 7 touchdowns, 8 picks on the season. In wins, 330 yards on the season. In losses, 250 yards on the season. Justin Herbert, who are you, big dog? Want the real Justin Herbert? Please stand up.
Oh, you gonna do that like that?
He did him like that.
What do you mean him? Everybody, when you win a game, you play better.
Not everybody.
And
Lamar Jackson, he won and he threw 4 picks.
That's true. And Baker Mayfield never plays well. Oh, okay, you got the point. Here's the thing. I'll tell you. You know what's so funny about me? I talk a lot, but I do what? Listen more. And I'm listening to a guy who now feels like he has the leverage, the upper hand. Hey, big bro, on your birthday, eat your cake, smash face, huh? I remember, let me do how Ato does it. America, I remember when you are an incredibly intelligent young man, and Ato, you came up here and told me that a team that was 7-1, the Los Angeles Rams, remember that team?
I thought you meant the Cowboys, but go ahead.
Yeah. Them too? Oh, yeah. Best team in the NFL were the Rams to you. Your Super Bowl prediction, the Rams, right? How that look right now? How that look right now? You know what? The same way my Chargers look right now. Like, damn, what just happened? Somebody pumped the brakes. So I'm not going to dismiss the fact that you, at one point in time, my Chargers were 4-1. Yeah, that's right. I would pump at my chest. I'll beat my chest like this. Things have changed. But you know, last year, I don't know. I was reminded of a 7-5 team that had hit a rough patch, and their quarterback didn't know what down it was. All of a sudden, found himself with a Lombardi trophy, drunk in the water, throwing it to boats. I think the Chargers are going to be in that same position right now. I go on record right now and say the Chargers will be in the Super Bowl just because of you and others who don't believe in my team.
So,
2026.
No, you don't go on record with a proclamation that nobody can anchor you to. It's like that guy that reported as best as possible that Lincoln Riley got $110 million and his family could use a private jet for 24/7. No, you can't just start making random proclamations.
I said...
Attach something to that proclamation.
Okay, Chargers will be in the Super Bowl 2026. if not before. Coming up, is it time for the Cowboys to bench and hell into Ezekiel Elliott? Ooh. We'll answer that next on Speak for Yourself. Chargers Rams Super Bowl this year so far. What? Coming up next on FS1, we have college hoops at Saginaw Valley State. Takes on the Butler Bulldogs from the historic Hinkle Fieldhouse. Tip-off coming up at the top of the hour right here on FS1. Ezekiel Elliott has been battling a knee injury since October and has not had more than 14 carries in each of his last 4 games. There's been talk that he should sit in favor of Tony Pollard, but Zeke said no one's come to him and asked him to rest. And today, Jerry Jones said, quote, "The facts are we expect him to have a serious load against New Orleans." All right, Acho. Is it time for the Cowboys to bench Ezekiel Elliott?
Absolutely, man. I've always wished, at least this season, I so desperately wish that Zeke's name had Tony Pollard's game. I wish that desperately. Whenever I watch the Cowboys, I'm like, man, Tony Pollard, I wish you were named Zeke. Because if you were, you would have significantly more carries. You'd have significantly more yards. You'd probably be a top 5 back in the National Football League. As it stands right now, Tony Pollard, you're 4th in yards per carry compared to Zeke, who sits at 15th. As it stands right now, Tony Pollard, you have more big plays and less touches than Zeke, who has significantly more touches. Tony Pollard, you are doing just as much, if not more, with less. If Tony Pollard had the contract that Zeke had, I could only imagine the output that Tony Pollard would have. I can only imagine the increased level of success that the already dominant Cowboys offense would have. But you know how the game goes.
Right.
The guy who gets the cash is a guy who gets the playing time. And Zeke got the cash. He got the $90 million contract. He has the big money. Tony Pollard, he's still on a rookie deal. He wasn't even a highly drafted cat. He was kind of a gadget guy, many people believe. He came to the Cowboys and really a special teams player, and now he has matured into one of, if not their best running back. Cowboys need to sit Zeke for the sake of Zeke and for the sake of the team. Zeke's not even healthy, man. Like, Zeke came into the league cell as thunder and lightning. He came into the league as a whole monsoon, hurricane type of thing. Defenders were scared of him. I, as a linebacker, formerly for the Eagles, would hit up my Eagles linebackers and be like, hey, bro, why is this dude so good? They'd be like, he can run away from you and he can run over you. He was thunder and lightning. Then Tony Pollard shows up, and Zeke is simply thunder because Tony Pollard now acts as lightning, and Zeke does not have nearly as much speed. Well, now he ain't even thunder. I don't even know what he is because he's hurt, so he can't even function at his maximum capacity. Now he's just really a personality. And so I think they need to bench him at least for the time being.
He ain't lightning. He's not thunder. Know what he is, for real? You ever be in a house and something fall in your garage? You be like, what the? You go check in there, like, oh, that's my storage. That's what he is. He's a commotion now. He's like an attraction. You see it, you respect it, but you're really respecting what you used to see, not what you're seeing right now. Kind of like that storage. You used to love that stuff that's in there, and all of a sudden now it's just spilled over the floor. Oh, this dude. I respect the meritocracy of this world and the meritocracy especially of football. Like, it's merit-based. Like, dog, don't put me out there if I don't deserve it. I understand no one's going to take themselves out of a position, but at the same time, don't put them in that position if they're not earning it. And that's where Ezekiel Elliott finds himself. I don't know how good my team would be in terms of wins and losses, but I know how well my team will be ran by that same mindset. You only out there because you earned it. As they say, you only eat what you kill. And lately, Zeke hasn't been killing anything. Look at his 100-yard rush games. From his first year, he had 7. Now he has 2. I'm going to give y'all perspective. This was supposed to be the guy who lost weight, who's leaner, meaner, mad, going to come back and rebound, restore the roar. Now he's just hurt and not as good. Y'all need to stop with this whole we hit and reset on Zeke and just hit the rewind or the reality of that Zeke is not the same. Every statistical category just shows that the guy is just not the guy. And his backup is. So what needs to happen is the realization that we got to put Tony Pollard in right now. We got a compromised team. We don't have our head coach. Our receivers are all gone. Why are we having question marks at the running back position when we have a capable backup who's more than capable than our starter? To me, it's a simple fix. Just a hard decision if you ain't up for it. Coming up, the Seahawks lost another one last night. Another one. DJ will tell you if Pete Carroll kept it 100 on Russell Wilson or just yeah. And that's next. Don't speak for you. Sure.
Y'all know how we get down on this show. We only keep it 100. But others be lying every day, so we got to get to the bottom of who's really telling the truth. Case in point. The Seahawks lost their third game last night. Third straight game last night, boy. They lost a lot more than 3. And Pete Carroll was asked if Russell Wilson is back to what he was pre-injury. Take a listen.
Well, the results aren't showing that, you know. The results of the way we're playing, it isn't showing up. So, you know, he's got to do better. We all got to do better.
So, Pete Carroll keeping it 100 or 99, man?
By that body language, he's keeping it 100. Look, in life, looks will make you run through stop signs, right? If you look good, I'm not going to stop to really hear that you just said that you're going to party all the time and you don't like to come home, right? Russell Wilson used to look good. And everybody just, oh, that's just Russell Wilson off script. Oh, just running around. Oh, that's an interception here. Oh, we're not making the playoffs. Oh, we just got smoked. all that was cute. Now he ain't cute no more. Now they stopping to listen to what he's really about. They're starting to watch this game and look at him differently.
So when you said looks will make you run through stop signs, I really thought you meant like if she looked good, you're not going to be watching the road, and so you're going to run through the stop sign.
Nope.
But I understand how now at your older level of age, you're providing higher level of analysis. Like your takes are no longer so surface level.
Yeah.
Now they're actually a lot more depthful and insightful.
You just sound like
I'm proud of you, man.
You're jealous.
You're grown
huh?
now.
You wish I was the old dad dude. I'm just an older dad dude. That's it for us. Saginaw Valley State versus Butler. Next.